What's up, guys? It's Chris. Welcome back. Today I want to spend a little bit of time talking about positivity and silencing negativity, especially if you are an entrepreneur who's just starting his own business, or you're a freelancer who's still looking for paid gigs, trying to get work, or if you are halfway through your business, you're struggling, and there's just, you're coming into a rut and just things aren't looking as good as you thought they were. So first, positivity isn't something that you can find off the street. It's something that comes from inside of you, meaning that you have to have a goal in mind and a goal set in place for yourself to hit so you can maintain that positivity till you get there. And what I mean by that is, for me, my personal goal for positivity is that every day I want to see some sort of progress, whether it's working on the website, whether it's making a new network connection to further the business or further myself, or to see progress on a physical product so that things are actually moving in place so I can make adjustments and edits so that the final product looks better. And in all honesty, it's been difficult. It's been difficult for me because, one, I don't come from a fashion background, so when I look at technical details about things, it's still an upward slope for me, and I can do all the research I want, all the research I can before I go into it. But at the same time, there are some things that you'll miss because, one, as an entrepreneur, you don't know everything, and you don't know what you don't know until you find out what you don't know. And so it's been 6 months since I left my job and started this, endeavor to create Napoleon Company. And over the past few months, things have gone a little slower than I've expected. I mean, I took a trip to Asia. I spoke to probably like I spoke to hundreds of manufacturers when I was in Asia and here locally in New York combined. And it's I've narrowed it down to a few manufacturers. Things have gotten rolling. The ball has been rolling. I've gotten some samples made. But the problem is, it's just not going fast enough, right? And I think patience is something that I am learning to cope with as an entrepreneur. It's something that I think any person who wants to build something great, or any company that wants to build something great, needs to keep inside of their own DNA. It's something that has to be built into it. So I'm a huge advocate for physical health, and just as much as I am for mental health. And given that this video is related to positivity, having both is essential for someone who's starting their own business or who has to plan their own day, where they don't have a job and they don't have a set list of tasks that they need to accomplish before they can clock out from their 9 to 5 or their 9 to 8, whatever it is. It's very difficult for me to not work out or do some sort of physical activity every day, because if I don't, then I feel a little more lethargic. I don't have as much energy the next day. And it's holding myself accountable to some sort of routine. Any CEO of any accomplished company has some sort of routine that they've always followed, so that every single day is planned out according to their own time schedule. And overall, it seems like I'm just saying a lot of fluff, and most of it sounds like it because every day is a little bit different. Some days you'll have you'll score something big, and then some days you'll just get like, well, I talked to someone today and, it was great. It was a good time. And I learned something today, and now I can plan ahead for the next day. And some days, literally, you'll talk to nobody. So for those who know me and who have followed me since the beginning, and some of you guys have worked with me probably before, the big difference between working at a job in a company versus starting my own company and running that is that there are no set of tasks that are laid out before you that you have to hit, whether it's, if you're in a finance position and you have X, Y, and Z to value every day, and you have to have X, Y, A, B, and C output to give to somebody else. It's not as easy as that, because you have to plan your own day, and planning your own day takes a lot of time. And it's great because I think that's the way I was wired, and I like doing that because that's just me. Some people need that set of instructions so they can say, here's X, Y, and Z, and I need you to do A, B, and C for me. And I think that's great because every company needs that, and even myself, sometimes I'm good at, I'm happy to do that. But at the same time, someday, because it's easier. But for me, I'm a glutton for punishment, so I decided to go the hard way and make my life a living hell. But either way, everything that goes wrong is your fault as an entrepreneur and as a founder of a company. Doesn't matter who you gave it to, who you gave that task to. It is your job and my job, in this case, to explain to them clearly and concisely what I expect in that final product or that finished task. And if I don't articulate that in the right way, that is my fault as a failure if I get something back that I don't find satisfactory. It's not the person's fault because I just didn't give them wrong directions. Or, I mean, obviously, yes, there could be a time where you give it to somebody, where you give a task to someone and they just, they fumble it. But either way, it's still my fault at that point because I should have vetted them to make sure that they couldn't fumble the ball given that specific task. So how you deal with everyday challenges does affect what happens for the next day or the next week or the next month because it's a mindset. So, and this also has really bad mental and physical effects on you if you're always negative about the things you say, if your body language is something like you're sulking all the time, or you just say like, oh man, I'm a failure, like man, I suck at this, damn, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Well, there's ways to do it. You don't suck at it. You probably suck at it, one, because you don't know how to do it, and two, the way you get to know how to do it is to research. Google has everything. So you just Google everything and you figure it out. You can do it on your own. And if Google doesn't have it, then you start asking questions. You ask the right questions to get down to where you need to be. How do I do this? How do I specifically get this to look like that? How do I get this how do I get X to output Y? It's all a formula, very simple, but you have to break it down into small micro things to get those small micro victories. And things that I've had problems with this because there are some problems where some nights I just don't want to I just don't want to Google it. Like there's some things that you just don't want to do and you just got to eat it. You have to you just got to take it and you have to go get online or talk to somebody, call somebody up who you trust or who you think who has a problem and just say, hey man, look, this problem's been bugging me for the past few days. I don't know how to fix it because I haven't found the right answer to it through my own means. Can you help me? And most people will be willing to go out of the way and say, well, I think I might know this way to do it, but there's someone else who I think might be a better person to get you to there. And it's just, that is part of a process to solve that problem that you have. And it sounds pretty simple, but just building up to that it takes time and it takes building confidence to get to that point. Yeah, and I've lost sleep over problems that I've had in manufacturing and, in understanding the business and how things move along and the tempo of it. I've lost a lot, I've had sleepless nights where I just sit up in bed and I sit there for like 3 hours or I toss and turn for 3 hours trying to sleep because I know the next day I got to go to a meeting where I don't really want to take it, but I have to. And there are things like that where there's days it's gonna suck. Like I'm sure you guys have had days where you have a big meeting the next day, or you have a big client discussion, or you have this person that you just don't want to talk to, or you have to do a task that just sucks and it's due. And just like think about back in school, right? You have an essay that's due in like 10 days, but you keep procrastinating until the fifth day. If the fifth day comes along, you're like, oh man, I got like 5 days to do it. It's only a 10-page paper. If I do 2 pages a day starting like in an hour, then I'll do it. And then the hour passes by and you miss it. And then it's like, oh crap, now I got to do like 10 pages in 55 hours. And then the time keeps, and you just keep procrastinating. The point is you cannot procrastinate on these things. You just have to act on it. Make sure you plan for it. Make sure you ask the right questions. You go in with the right mindset, but just make sure you tackle the biggest problems so that they're off your plate. And most of the time, it's really not as bad as it seems. And that's what I've learned. It's not all these things that I've had these doubts with in my mind, these internal conversations of how things would play out. Most of the time, they've come out much better. The outcomes of those situations have come out much better than they have been played out in my head. And it's a good thing, It's a good learning experience. So just go out and do it. And the last thing I want to talk about is simplicity. Now, as any e-commerce brand that wants to start up on the web, you think simplicity is something easily attained. It's just, hey, just make sure this works like this and just keep it real simple. Do a one-click thing and bam, it's done. Or like just look at this shirt. I want this shirt to look like this, so make it look like that. And then you hand it off to somebody and you explain that. But there is a process to everything, and simplicity does take time. Uh, Especially when it comes to manufacturing, or especially when it comes to design. Simplicity is not just something that you can say, I want this to be looking like this, and it's just going to pop out of a black box. It's not. Um, and I'm at fault for thinking this way to an extent when I first started, because I was like, okay, well, it's a pretty simple design. Like take for instance non-iron fabric. I just wrote a blog about it on the website. Once the site is opened and you can read the blog post, you can I'll put the link in the description in this video, or I'll link everything in the next videos when we get it. But when we get to it. But for now, like take non-iron fabric for instance for dress shirts. Like I still have these rolls of fabric next to me. These wonderfully feeling non-iron dress shirts, luxurious, just feels like clouds in fabric form. But anyways, this fabric was so hard to find because it is specific only to men's dress shirts. A lot of fabric manufacturers do not make non-iron dips because one, it's a very specialized type of dip to finish a fabric in, and especially when they make it into garments, not a lot of you need a specific machine to be able to handle these types of fabrics. So finding a factory that works specifically with non-iron shirting, it was a very big win. Like it was a huge milestone for me when we went to Asia and we found like a few manufacturers who did it, and then we narrowed down that partnership. So now that we have a fabric manufacturer who makes this and a dress shirt factory that they've paired up with, it's something that I'm really excited about. But it seems so simple to just go into any fabric market and say, hey, I want non-iron cotton. And it's like, what is non-iron? Because if you think about the larger fashion market, you would think that everyone knows what non-iron is. But for men, or at least for me, for the past few years, and working in a professional services industry, it was something that was always on my mind. Like, how do I find, like, why is it so hard? Like, why is it so hard to make a non-iron shirt? It's because not a lot of people do it. And most of them just make it for, like, the global fashion market is about $74 billion, I think. No, maybe that's wrong. I'm gonna leave all the statistics out there because I forgot what the statistics are, but basically the global fashion market does not use this at scale, to the extent of regular cotton, dyed cotton, wool, polyester, lycra, all that stuff. They don't use that. This is very specific to dress shirts. So for us, I was happy to find this, and I'm very excited to see this on a shirt. So yeah, maintaining positivity. That is the theme of today.